Hi, it's Miss Squires, and we've just finished our first day of school, and I wanted to practice submitting a video for y'all to watch and start outlining. So chapter 1 goes back through Native American tribes and the beginning of European colonization, exploration. What I want you to do is outline as best you can as you're listening and watching this video. Bring it to class with you on Wednesday, and we will use it to expand upon and begin answering some larger questions that will help you understand this period in time. Most of you know that, of course, Europeans discovering America is really a misnomer. There were people here, of course, before. The first Americans, they believe, came across the Bering Strait from Asia and settled into simple communities from North America all the way down to South America. Most Native Americans were concentrated in Central and South America. Think about why Native Americans settled in that part of the Americas rather than North America or far South America. We did have some very complex societies, such as the Incas, the Mayas, the Aztecs in central Mexico. They had extensive trade routes, they had scientific discoveries, just a variety of complex societies. So why 1492? Why all of a sudden in 1492 do we have this European interaction with the Americas? And a variety of reasons. There are several background reasons for why 1492. First of all, we had improvements in technology. Before Europeans could sail west, they had to be assured, or relatively assured, that they'd be able to get home. And so we had to have some scientific developments that enabled these sailors to know they would be able to get home if they made such a daring attempt as to sail west. Okay, sorry. The custodian came in to empty the trash. Okay, so we're talking about scientific improvements. Some of this comes, or a lot of this comes from the Renaissance. We also, of course, had interaction with the Middle and Far East during the Crusades, and a lot of those things that Europeans were exposed to, such as gunpowder, China, spices, of course, silk, a variety of items they wanted to continue to be able to get. So that meant trading with the Far East. Knowledge at the time, of course, allowed only for trade around Africa. And so the Portuguese, because of their geographic location, think about why the Portuguese would be the first to begin exploring the coast of Africa. They had a leader, Prince Henry of Portugal, who sponsored and funded the idea of being able to sail around the Horn of Africa to Asia. The Spanish also, think about their geographical location, desired, of course, to continue trading with the Far East. Their geographical location as well made it difficult to travel over land, and so they also want to begin begin finding or exploring the idea of a water route to the Far East. However, since, of course, the Portuguese were already exploring the coast of Africa, The Spanish began to entertain the thought, at Columbus's urging, that they sail west in order to reach the east. Now, 1492, why then? A critical year. The Spanish had been fighting to expel North African Muslims from Spain, and they were successful, finally, after years of war, at doing so, and so they could then focus their attention on improving their own trade routes rather than just freeing themselves from what they considered an invasion by these North Africans. We also have the beginning of the idea of nation states, the way we think of a modern country, of a people with a similar language, similar customs, similar religious beliefs is going to be important to the Spanish in maintaining that idea of not really necessarily a superiority, but more of a pride sort of thing, a development of Spain, a development of Portugal, and then of course eventually we'll get to development of England. The early explorations of Columbus were supported by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain in that risk to try and find that westerly route to the east. Columbus, you all, I'm sure, know the story. Columbus sails with his 3 ships. They're traveling west. No one knows how really far away from home they're getting except for Columbus. And the further and further, the longer it takes them to reach land, the more concern of the sailors on board. Columbus finally sights land in October 1492, believes he is in the East Indies, islands off the coast of Asia, and so names the natives Indians, which is, of course, where we get our term Indians. The actual name America is named for Amerigo Vespucci, who was a map maker who actually made some of the first maps of the Americas, and he named it for himself. So it is not named Columbia, although we have a lot of Columbus, cities named Columbus, and then of course the country Columbia as well. The impact on history of Columbus's voyage cannot be overemphasized. It connected the world together. And of course, numerous other explorers are going to come after him for a variety of reasons. One of the largest impacts of Columbus's voyage will be the Columbian Exchange, and the fact that food in the form of plants and various different animals are going to be exchanged from the old world, Europe, Africa, Asia, to the new world, North, Central, and South America. Items that originated in Europe that came to the Americas: sugar, pigs, horses, the wheel, iron tools, guns, and then of course diseases, examples, smallpox, measles, which were of course deadly to the natives. They had no natural resistance. Items that came from America that go back to Europe and really sort of solidify the diet of Europeans: beans, corn, potatoes, tomatoes, eventually, of course, tobacco, as well as other diseases that were native to the Americas are now going to get transferred over to the old world, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Within 100 years of Columbus's discovery, 90% of the native population of the Americas died. The Spanish, of course, travel with this attitude, as do the Portuguese, that whatever they discover, conquer, is theirs for the taking. And so this is going to, of course, cause conflict with the natives wherever we see the Europeans interact because of that conquering attitude, superiority of Europeans, so to speak. Spain claims North America 1492. Portuguese, through Vasco da Gama, passes, let me find my note. I'm looking at my notes. Vasco da Gama reaches India, eventually around the coast of Africa, thinking they're in the same place. So because they are arguing over who gets the claim, they go to the Pope. The Catholic Church, of course, being the most important organizing factor of Europeans in the late 15th century. The Pope, through the Treaty of Tordesillas, establishes what he calls the line of demarcation, and this divides the supposed new territory between the Spanish and the Portuguese. Not realizing they divided new continents, the Spanish definitely got the benefit of this division. Spain then begins their quest for glory, God, and gold, and numerous Spanish explorers are sent, generally looking for a way through or around the Americas. They were an impediment towards reaching the East, which is what the original goal was and what the goal remained for the Spanish, until they began to look at the Americas in terms of, wow, maybe we can get something out of this land in addition to still traveling with the Far East. So we see a variety of explorers. Magellan, of course, his voyage with the first circumnavigation of the globe. Cortez conquers the Aztecs in Central America. Pizarro conquers the Incas in South America. With all the gold and silver that they're finding, it's all going back to Spain and making Spain the most important country in the world until 1607. So we'll talk about that tomorrow.